Yo, what is going on, everybody? It's BraveCat here once again with another Frontier Signals update, and it is the 6th of February 2026. So I've got a few things to go over here, including some of the stuff around the Olympics opening ceremony, and well, first I'll cover this pretty massive coronal mass ejection that happened on the far side. So not pointed at Earth. And okay, these kind of barely catch it here. It happened earlier today. So these are pretty recent. It's a little bit cut off, but you can see just how massive it was. And this was on the far side, so it doesn't really appear on any of these feeds. I haven't checked them all. It might appear on this one because this one is better for looking at the actual plasma. But anyways, so we had that. Now see, here's the significance with that. Oh, hold on, we'll get to that. We'll get to the Olympics here in a moment. Because here's the thing. With all of the solar flares that we got, in the past 4 days or so, yeah, we had no coronal mass ejections that even came close to how powerful this one is. So we're still going to need to see what those sunspots are looking like. I don't know if it came from this one over here, or it was likely further on the other side. Yeah, it had to have been behind this sunspot group. But I mean, this one looks pretty big as well. It doesn't look very complex or really too active at all, but it does look fairly comparable in terms of the size to this one. So, we'll have to keep an eye on things, and we'll have to see, we'll have to try and see what caused this CME over on the far side, because I mean, that if this was directly blasting at Earth, like when those other, when the main sunspot group was facing us, yeah, that would have been a major problem. That's, this is precisely the kind of thing many people were worried about with the sunspots over here. Now, of course, these aren't gone away totally yet. If this were to have a similar type of flare that we saw here on the far side, it would still hit us, and it would still be pretty bad depending on how big the X-class flare, would be. If this did the same thing that this did just now, then, I mean, again, that's literally the whole reason why this is on the rise. There's more and more enthusiasts and truthers, preppers, you name it, looking at these things, because it's getting more dire for sure. And we can take a look at the LASCO feed as well. This one is even shorter, like even more cut off. So the CME already happened, and then it's like, you can kind of get a better idea. Okay, so there's something here as well. I just noticed that, actually. It's a pretty big jet of plasma coming off there. Let me just make sure that wasn't on this side. I don't think it is. I looked at this and there was basically nothing going on here. So yeah, that jet of plasma, that also looks like it happened on the far side. Interesting. See, it's not just that. There's also this. That's a very, very dense jet of plasma. Again, if something like that directly hit Earth, it could spell disaster. So, again, we got amazingly lucky. Okay, I'm not playing that. Let's change the song. Anyways, so enough of that. Let's get into how the Olympics opening ceremony went. Now, I'm just going to preface this by saying this opening ceremony was a lot better than the one in France. My God. You know, this one actually was pretty good overall, but of course, you know, they always have to shove some pretty strange and sometimes straight up demonic symbolism. So I've got a clip here and a couple images. So this one here, you know, it looks, you know, a little bit demonic, a little bit satanic, a little bit messed up here. So this is the main stage of the opening ceremony, and I'm sure there's a lot more symbolism going on here. But the main thing I noticed is this spiral here. I mean, it literally just looks like a straight up, like, hypnosis kind of, you know, spiral. Like, oh, hey, you know, look at this. Don't pay attention to what's going on in the rest of the world. Just look at the circus. Look at the pretty lights and the hypnosis spiral. That's kind of the vibe that I get from this, and you know, it was still cool to see the whole thing, and you know, it wasn't all just a bunch of weird symbolism and all that. There was actually some pretty good aspects to it, but of course, you know, there's some weirdness here. So if we take a look at this, right, this here is a clip from X. Now, so this was the lighting ceremony. This was the torch, and this is what the torch was lighting. And well, I mean, it looks pretty strange already. So, I mean, you kind of have this shape in the middle, which is like a 5-pointed star. And with the kind of traditional mystic kind of symbolism behind the pentagram is actually that the top point represents the spirit. And, you know, the spirit is above everything else, and these 4 other points basically represent different aspects of material. So, you know, the different elements, you have like air, I forget how it is, it's like air, fire, water, earth, or something like that. So you have the 4 elements represented by the 4 points, and the top one represents spirit, because, well, spirit resides above the material realm. And then see what they do to it when they actually ignite it. So, you know, they got the torch there, they ignite it, and then bam, it goes full red. I mean, that's nothing really by itself. Like, okay, yeah, they ignited it, makes sense, there's the fire. But then once it zooms out, you'll see, okay, so now you have that original 5-pointed star here. It's still, you can still kind of see it. But then look at what surrounds it. Bam. So, okay, not only do you have kind of a lot of geometry going on here, but then let's see if we can wait until it kind of fully lights up here. So let me see here. Right here. Right here. Now what do you have that is now surrounding that original star? Well, it's basically an upside down pentagram. All right, they flipped it. So it still has 5 points. All right, I don't know if that song is appropriate. Needs something a little more. There we go. So look at what they did to it when they ignite the flame. Now they basically turned it upside down. So now the top point on the star representing spirit is now on the bottom. This is a pretty common satanic way to do things, where you put materialism above the spirit. I mean, that's essentially what Satanism is. And with all these stuff coming out with the Epstein crap, well, we know who loves that sort of stuff. Pretty much the entire ruling class of parasites in today's society and world government. And they've been doing this for decades, and now it's just, they don't even hide it. They literally don't even hide it anymore. Basically admitting to it and still not being held accountable. So, I mean, here it is, you know. And, oh my god, I cannot even read the word pizza the same anymore. I don't know why this clip even has it in there. So that's just, yeah, that's just the freaking cherry on top, isn't it? So that's basically, now I'm sure there's a lot more symbolism going on in this statue or sculpture, whatever you want to call it. And I think this is going to be not just for the Olympics. I think they're going to keep this here in Italy. So yeah, that's basically that. So here's just another view of it. Makes it look a lot more obvious. Pretty bad looking. And then again, here's the spiral form of that. So, you know, even though this actually was a much better and kind of lighter ceremony for the Olympics, it still had some pretty poor taste in some of those things. Anyways, the other thing here I saw, which, I mean, this is concerning. This is absolutely horrible, but this is what's going to be happening because Göbekli Tepe is one of the hottest ancient archaeological dig sites on the planet for very good reason. And there's so much not speculation, but there is, but there's so much, like, quite literally being covered up. And they refuse to properly dig the site. Now, this is completely AI generated. This does not exist at Göbekli Tepe. All right, there's a lot of pillars. The T-pillars have a lot of things inscribed and carved into these massive stones, which, you know, well, there's a lot of speculation with that, but they very well document ancient history, and it goes pretty deep. But here's the thing, which with AI, you know, we're going to be definitely seeing a lot more of these fake artificial images. And again, it's meant to cover up the real truth behind these things. Göbekli Tepe was manually buried. So now you see these rocks and debris, you know, it basically looks like rubble. And well, that's what it's called by actual truthful archaeologists, because these small stones and dirt covering the entire place is not even part of the original site. Now I could actually bring up some real pictures, but that's the only aspect of this artificial AI generated slop that actually, you know, it represents some truth. Like these walls, you see them. But anyways, that's that. Definitely a lot of stuff, and you know, it's just going to keep rolling out. Like, this stuff is not slowing down by any means. I think there's going to be plenty of things like that to cover pretty much on a daily basis at this point. But with that, you know, let's get back to some of the geophysical kind of stuff here. I haven't looked at this yet, so this is going into tomorrow, and it looks like we've had a couple of blasts there. And then let's just take a look at yesterday. Well, today/yesterday. Let's see. 28,000 foot high blast in Kamchatka. Doesn't surprise me. Is that it? No, we got more. Really just looking for the major blasts here. 6,000 foot. Just kind of putzing through these here. Guatemala again. Guatemala, Fuego. So looks like a lot of the kind of same activity here. And then on the earthquakes, this is kind of leveled out more or less. Now we're still seeing a lot of threes in areas you don't normally get threes. Like if you get threes in Europe, well, closer to fours even, as well as like inside the US, you know, that means there's still a lot of pressure going out throughout the planet. Because, well, we got fours, fives, and even sixes still getting pumped out of here. So I mean, we got 5.8, 5.9, 5.2. Let's kind of drag this out a little bit here. So just kind of doing a basic little check here. I mean, again, all these areas are getting filled in with upper to mid 5 activity. with, you know, all of the deeper activity that's been happening. So just looking at this, you know, we could continue to see these spots that are pretty much empty, potentially get filled in with similar sized activity. And then looking at the Pacific Northwest, well, there's still a lot of pressure kind of moving down here into the west coast, and then down here where all these volcanoes are going off. And it looks like there is, yeah, so there's a couple of slightly deeper quakes over by these. This is pretty much where Fuego and Santiago are, those volcanoes that were on the list. And then here is, oh, here is South America with, look at that. I believe that is, well, it's a 5, but that is pretty much exactly where Dutch Synths was looking for the kind of bigger earthquake to strike here. Now, you know, I don't know if this actually hit within his forecast period, and also, you know, some of the volcanic activity could have potentially absorbed some of that energy, but that is pretty much exactly where the energy was predicted to go. And then now we'll probably see more activity down here as it goes out into the Drake Passage and the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on there. Nothing too crazy, but we still have an uptick in global pressure. And you know, I think that'll pretty much do it. Again, really curious to see what these sunspots look like, the ones that cause this massive coronal mass ejection over on the far side. Now, you know, whatever those sunspots look like right now, by the time they are Earth facing, well, they're probably going to look a lot different. They could decay, they could grow, but they'll definitely be different either way. So anyways, though, that'll about do it. So, yep, hope y'all enjoyed, and I'll catch you all in the next.